Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to R Squared Technology. I'm your host Ryan, and let's get ready to SolidWorks. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you've made it through the work week okay. It's been kind of interesting to say the least. As always, we will be working from the book, The Beginner's Guide to SolidWorks 2022 Level 1. Link in the description below where you can pick up a copy to follow along. And today we're visiting an old part from Chapter 2, the offset shaft, where we're going to complete that. And we'll be starting on page 321, section 15.1. So, with that, put a seatbelt on and let's get started. Alright, so in Chapter 2, one of our previous videos, we had modeled this offset shaft. So, you'll have to watch previous videos to get this point if you're just now tuning in. No free downloads for you. Have to follow along. And now we're going to add basically the worm gear portion of it, which will complete this. So, page 321, section 15.1, which is about the middle of the page, we're going to start with a sketch that has 2 points. That way we can add 2 auxiliary reference planes. So let's do that. Choose the front plane, Control 8 to bring it normal to, choose a sketch, and we'll click a sketch here, and just to be on center, we're going to do a center line all the way to the end here, like such. We'll put a point and another point, doesn't matter where, because they do have a specific dimension. And we'll do it at like so, and this first dimension is 2.625, and then our other point is going to be 1 inch. Then we can click OK, exit the sketch, we'll do spacebar to bring it back isometric, Control S, and then we will move on to section 15.2 on page 321. One thing we'll do before moving on to section 15.2 is we'll rename this sketch gear width, like such. Save it. And then at the bottom of page 321 we'll do section 15.2 where we're going to add some auxiliary planes. So choose the right plane. And then we'll go to the Features tab, choose Reference Geometry drop-down, choose a plane, pick this first point, click OK. Repeat the process. And we can actually do it off of plane 1 as well, but we'll do it off the front plane. Excuse me, right plane. Reference Geometry, plane. Select the second point, click OK. Hit Control S. Or save from the dialog that may pop up. And then we will move on to page 322 at the top for section 15.3. Alright, before moving on to section 15.3, we're going to come over here, press the Control key and select plane 1 and 2, and then hide them. Then we're going to choose the front plane, Control 8 to bring it normal to, choose the Sketch tab, choose a center line, zoom in with the center scroll wheel, and we want to select the left point, dragging up with a vertical relation and a coincident to the silhouette edge of the cylinder. Click, and then right click and select, and then we're going to start our profile, and to do so we're going to do Tools, Sketch Tools, Dynamic Mirror, choose the center line, and then we can start a newer sketch. And so we'll start and drag out to the left like such, making sure that one is a horizontal relation. Then we'll draw something angular, add in a radial arc there, and drag to the center point. And even if we aren't vertical, that's okay, or horizontal, because we're going to add some relations. From here to here is going to be tangent. Here to here and here is going to be horizontal. Then we're going to add this radius here, 0.02. Then we're going to go with this width here, 0.031. Then we're going to go with this bottom width here, which is 0.175. And finally our height is going to be 0.075. Once that is complete, then we will hit OK, exit out, come over here into the feature tree and rename sketch to be thread profile. Enter. Then we will do spacebar, bring it isometric, Control S, and now we'll move on to section 15.4 at the middle of page 322. Alright, so at the middle of page 322, section 15.4, we're going to bring plane 1 back to visibility for a moment here. It's not necessary, but it's just going to help better visually. We're going to zoom in a little bit, make sure that plane is selected from the feature tree or from the graphics view. We're going to come over to the sketch tab, choose a sketch, and in the convert entities we're going to choose the drop down and choose intersection curve. Now this particularly is useful when you have irregular faces that you're selecting. Now this is a cylinder, so you could just choose convert entity, but we're going off of what the book wants you to practice here. So we'll go to the top of page 323 where we have our selected entities, choose this face, select OK, and that's going to give us this sketch profile here, which is going to be exact to this face. Then we can click OK, hit exit sketch, Control S, and now we're going to move on to section 15.5 at the top middle-ish of page 323. Now moving on to section 15.5 at the middle of page 323, we're going to create a helix. So we want to make sure that sketch 7 is still selected, and then we're going to come up here into insert, and then we're going to choose a curve, and then we're going to choose helix spiral. And then in the properties, we want to make sure that it is set to height and pitch. And then we want to make sure that it is set to height of 1 inch, a pitch of 0.25, and then start at 90 degrees. And we want to make sure constant pitch is selected. Then we can click OK. And at this point we can also right click on plane 1 and hide it. And we can hit Control S. And we will now move on to page 324 at the top with section 15.6. And now, moving on to the top of page 324, section 15.6, we'll start the sweep command. So make sure you exit the sketch, go to the Features tab, and we're going to do the Sweep Boss Base. And for our profile, we're going to choose the sketch here, which is the thread profile. And for sweep path, we will choose helix spiral 1. Then we will click OK. And that completes the first part of the threading. And then we're going to right click on the helix sketch and hide it. And at this point we can hide the center line too. And then we'll hit the space bar, bring it isometric, hit Control S. And from here we will move on to the middle of page 324, section 15.7. Alright, moving on to the middle of page 324, section 15.7. We're first going to select plane 2, and I'm going to make it visible for better visual reference. Come to the Sketch tab, open a sketch, and this time we'll just do Convert Entities, and we'll just select this edge here because we need a complete circle. If we did it as we did in the previous, it would only give us half a circle because of this part of the profile that gear already made. So we can select OK, we can exit the sketch, go to Insert, Curve, choose a helix spiral again. We want to make sure it is height and pitch, constant pitch, and our height this time is going to be 0.625. Starts at 90 degrees, but now we want to make sure that it is a tapered helix of 7 degrees, and we want to make sure that it is tapered inward, so unselect taper outward, and then we're going to choose OK. And then from here we will hide plane 2, hit Control S, and now we'll move on to section 15.8 at the top of page 325. Now from here we'll move on to section 15.8 at the top of page 325, where we get to kind of cheat a little bit. So what I'm going to do is press and hold the center scroll wheel of the mouse to rotate the part a little bit. It doesn't matter if we're directly on, but what I want you to be able to see is this face here. So what we're going to do is come over to the Features tab, and then we're going to choose a Sweep Boss Base again. And our sketch profile is actually just going to be this face here. And alternatively, you could create a plane here, then create a converted entity from this face in order to create a sketch. But we can choose this face, and then we can choose this helix we just made. And then we can click OK. And from here, we can do the same thing. Right click and hide that helix sketch, and I'll rotate it to show you what's happened here. And now we need to do it to the same side, so we'll move on to section 15.9 at the middle of page 325. Alright, section 15.9 at the middle of page 325, we're just going to repeat the process on the opposite end here. So I'll rotate the shaft somewhat like this. Again, that was done using the center scroll wheel of the mouse. So then we're going to come over here and make sure first that plane 1 is selected and make it visible again. Don't have to, but again, just for visual reference, it's better to have it on. We'll come to the Sketch tab. Then we're going to open up a sketch, and we're going to again choose Convert Entities, and we're going to choose this edge. Click OK, exit the sketch, and from here we can hide the plane again, hit Control S, then make sure Sketch 9 is selected, and then we're going to go to Insert, Curve, Helix, Spiral. Now we need to do a couple of things here. The height is the same, the pitch is the same, the taper is the same, the starting angle is the same, except we need to reverse direction and make it counterclockwise. Then we can select OK, and then from here let's click in the graphics area so nothing is selected. Come to the Features tab, choose a Sweep Boss Base, then we're going to zoom in with the center scroll wheel, choose this face, then choose this helix for the sweep path, then we will select OK, and then we will right click on the helix sketch, hide it, and then I'm going to hit the space bar, bring it back isometric, hit Control S, and then we are now going to move to the top of page 326, and then part of the middle of page 326 for section 15.10 or 15.10. Alright folks, home stretch here, section 15.10 on page 326 in the middle. Last finishing touch we're going to do is add a 0.015 fillet to round the edges of the thread. And to do this, we're going to choose the fillet, and then items to fillet. Let's do the dimension first, 0.015, enter, and items to fillet, we're going to select both this edge here and it's going to select both of that, so then we can click OK, and that smooths everything out there. I'll do a spacebar, bring it back isometric, and we can turn the real view graphics back on just to see that over shiny version of it. Hit Control S, and that is going to complete the offset shaft. That is all I have for you folks in this video. I hope you learned something. Tune in next Friday where we're going to modify another existing part. We're going to work more with these helix and spiral threads. Until next time, take care.